Welcome to the Lovecars on the Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiffany Dell, and Paul Woodman.
You ready?
Indeed.
Welcome to episode 14 of Lovecars on the Grid, where this week we announced the winner of the Caterham competition. And with no major events around the UK, we go in search of British success from around the world of motorsport, starting, of course, with the French Grand Prix and another defeat for Lewis Hamilton.
It wasn't a success for British people around the world, that one. But before we go back to that Grand Prix, I mean, this is this idea at the moment, we look all around the world. I'd love you lot to come to YouTube where you can make comments and listen wherever you want to the podcast. You know, do you want us to keep on searching the world for British successes? Because I enjoy doing that. And I'd like to highlight, as we'll find in this next half hour or so, you know, what the Brits are doing around the world. But no, Lewis, oh dear, and Mercedes falling apart.
Was it Lewis or was it Mercedes? Are they cracking up under the pressure?
Yeah, I think they're cracking up. You know, we had this switch in Baku. I still cannot believe that there's a switch so easily nudgeable on a steering wheel that disconnects pretty much your rear brakes. I can't believe it's there. You know, I mean, it should be something that's lockable, not accidentally hittable, because it's a very dangerous thing to suddenly lose your rear brake. So that was the first Mercedes chink. And then they gave they swapped chassis before the French Grand Prix. What is that all about? I mean, I know, Bottas has got this real mentality at the moment that came through later on in the race as well. And, he's always saying, this is my year and I'm going to do it. And I've got psycho help and I'm being handled So, but why swap chassis was really weird, which looked like, Bottas earlier on in the testing, the free practice, was proving that Lewis's car was faster, Then when it came to the crunch, Lewis once again, get back in your box, Valtteri, But then in the middle of the race, Valtteri shouted, I told you got a strategy wrong. We should have stopped. And
he was angry.
It looks
very
like,
angry.
Yeah, I know. But actually in the race, he stayed with the Verstappen-Hamilton battle for longer than he has done in the past. He really seemed to be making a huge effort. Probably in doing so, he burnt his tyres more than Lewis had burnt his, and so he fell back even more. But I think the funniest thing at the moment that makes me laugh the most. We've got Lewis at the end of the race, all calm and happy. Well, yes, they've got the better car. They're faster in a straight line. And this was, of course, the Red Bull's thing for years, the last 4 or 5 years. Horner was always in the pit wall saying, data says we're losing 2 seconds in the straight lines, but, he had the extra rake, which has more drag. And now Lewis is doing exactly the same, implying that, we're fast for the corners, but we're losing in a straight line. And once that starts going back to the debrief room, so you're putting pressure on Mercedes to get more power, or the chassis engineers to get less drag. That debrief after the race, I think, for the strategy department of Mercedes would have been a pretty nasty place to be. But Lewis put up a great fight. But also Mercedes, you've got old Nico Rosberg. He loves getting it in a bit of a twist, doesn't he? And quoting, it's a bit just, Lewis didn't really defend very well. I don't know what Nico knows about that. He was never the greatest defender himself. Well, I have to say, I was surprised Lewis didn't at least go down the left-hand side of the dreaded DRS straight.
I'm
at
glad
least
you said that, because even when Max caught up Valtteri, we're expecting Valtteri to hold him up a little bit, thinking, okay, here we go. Valtteri can hold him up for maybe half a lap and cost him a second. And he went straight past him. Valtteri made a mistake, went straight past him. But exactly the same happened with Lewis. A lap and a half to go. Everybody's now on the edge of their seats thinking, we've got a proper race. Can Lewis hold on until the end? And it was the first attempt, the first pass. It was as simple as that. It was so dull once he got there.
Lewis said afterwards, well, if he didn't get me then, he would have got me on the next lap. Whoa. Remember going back to Bahrain when he overtook and went off the road, and then his tyres fell apart. So, it looked like Verstappen was going to easily overtake Max Lewis in Bahrain. But in the end, it all went pear-shaped for Max and Lewis won. So, really weird mentality to assume he's going to overtake.
On the other end of the spectrum with the Caterham Racing, because you changed the lead so many times, and I said, should I yield the lead so I can, we can swap it? I said, no, always defend your lead, even if you're slower. Always defend the lead, which I'm surprised they didn't a little bit more. But anyway, that's another British success. Lando, he was miles behind.
Yeah.
Again, he's still doing best of the rest of the rest of the feels.
We have fantastic battling going on with McLaren and Alfa Tauris, and now Alpine are up there, and Ferrari dropping backwards terribly with tyre wear. So it's fantastic racing that we saw not enough of, maybe, because up front was actually very interesting. But, you know, Lando was over a minute, you know, behind Verstappen. It's such a shame that the rest of this great pack, the best of the rest pack, Class B, which now includes Ferrari, but, you know, used to be up front, are so far off the pace. And it just shows how, you know, high tech and the extra money that Mercedes and Red Bull spend, it shows the difference. But it's just that you just feel if they were just 20 seconds behind or 10 seconds behind, you know, over a minute. But they were great battling. Gasly and Lando had a bit of a clash at the corner and joked about it afterwards. And it was good. It was good racing everywhere in Formula One. Round the circuit, it still makes my flipping head go crazy. My eyesight's been a bit pear-shaped halfway through, but it's such a shame it's all painted like that. But again, the racing still was all down to DRS. You know, we still mustn't forget the fact that, you know, it's down to the overtakes were pretty much all DRS induced here and there.
Yeah,
no, good stuff.
Perez did okay. He got the fastest pit stop as well, 2.04 seconds, in case anyone's interested. Tiff certainly not. But it's normally a bit
he was still half a second off Verstappen in qualifying.
Yeah,
which, you know, with Gasly and Albon, half a second off Max in qualifying put Albon and Gasly in 6th or 7th, you know. So because there's such a buffer now between Red Bull, Mercedes and the rest of the field, and he can be half a second off of Max and still be 4th on the grid. So, you know, he's still got to sharpen up his qualifying.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was a good weekend of racing.
Yeah, the normal snooze fest of Paul Ricard was actually relatively exciting. It was my favourite race, but there was a lot of lead changes and it could have gone either way, which is good. And of course, the strategy went to Red Bull, who seem very cool, calm and collective, particularly when they win. They're not so cool and calm and collective when they don't win or they get it wrong, but they were very cool and calm. So well done to Max and well done to Red Bull. Where we go next? F3, which was at Paul Ricard.
Formula 3, yeah. This weekend it was the turn of the F3 to support. And a good win for Jack Doohan, this 18-year-old son of Mick Doohan, the 5-times world MotoGP or Moto 500cc, what it was then, champion. So great for Jack. He was racing in Britain in Formula 4, which showed a lot of promise. He's a Red Bull boy. He's got the money. So that was great. He won the feature race. Of course, with those two thrown upside down sprint races on the Saturday that were won by Arthur Leclerc, of course, the brother of Charles Leclerc. So now Leclerc had a sprint race reverse grid win, as did Alexander Shmulya, the Russian. But Brits, not, we haven't really got any starring Brits in Formula 2. The best was Johnny Edgar, back in 14th spot in the main race, and that was our best finisher. So no joy for the Brits in Formula 3.
I like Formula 3. I mean, I watched the highlights only, but I think that's that can be exciting sometimes. I like it. I like it. It's a bit different.
Great stuff. Jonathan Hoggard, a British driver. He won the 2019, the last, because we missed one last year, Autosport Young Driver Award, Jonathan Hoggard. Really, really good views from the judges, but he can't get a drive. You know, and he stepped in last minute to Paul Ricard. He finished 18th, I think, out of what, 30 odd cars, isn't it? 32, 6, I can't remember how many there are. A lot of them. So nice to see Hoggard have a race, but he still needs some money to get his talent up in a better car.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff. So from 4 wheels to 2 wheels, we like the MotoGP, don't we? It seems to be. We seem to talk about that quite a lot because they seem to be.
Well, it's a lovely warm up, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's on the in the mornings, which is really good. You have the Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP, then the Formula 1. So it's good wake up watching Moto 3 kids at 9 o'clock in the morning. But the big story of the weekend, of course, is Mark Marques winning and Susie of tears again because, you know, everyone loves Mark, and he had this awful injury. I think it's over a year and a half ago now, I think, when he did this shoulder, and he's, you know, missed most of last year. He kept trying to come back too soon, and even this year, the right shoulder is still weak. But the good thing for him with the Sachsenring in Germany is mainly left hand. It's like this bull ring of a track, diving downhill, uphill, off great racing circuit. Where he'd won the previous 10 years. He's never been beaten then. All the different Moto 3s or 125s, whatever he did. Amazing record. And he came through and he just pulled away. It was actually quite a dull MotoGP race. But everyone wanted Mark Marques to win again. The Honda's not the quickest bike this year, so it was a fantastic result for Honda and Mark.
I love this tweet. It was it said at the age of 28 and 123 days, Mark Marques became the oldest rider to win in the MotoGP class since Daniel Petrucci in Le Mans last year. Now that's very misleading because you read that, you think, wow, he's the oldest ever winner at 28. But of course, it's only since last year because you haven't got Rossi or any of those boys that have won.
Well,
much
yeah.
older
Rossi, don't mention poor Rossi. But
28 is deemed old in that. No way. It's funny, isn't it? That's like a mere youngster to us.
I think Giacomo Agostini was about 40, I think, before he stopped winning Grand Prix. But elsewhere, Moto2, the Brits, nobody in MotoGP. Sam Lowe's battled to a 5th place from 7th on the grid, I think he was. But Aussie Remy Gardner, another son of a former world motorbike champion, Wayne Gardner's boy, Remy Gardner, won again in the Moto2, and he's pulling out quite a lead at the top of the championship now. So that's another great story from down under, mate. Well, can I do that accent? I'm not allowed to, maybe. And Moto3, our only man, John McPhee, qualified about 4th, I think, qualified well, but he got shuffled out, and they all fell down in front of him, and he ended up 11th. But of course, returning to the winning circle was our kid, Pedro Acosta. Another stunning ride by him.
So how many wins has he had now? He must be 4 wins, is it? Or 5?
Yeah, he's won half the races now. 4 out of 8.
Brilliant.
And it was an amazing battle. You think, and it's just these close. Again, when he's leading, or he's able to break down the inside and hold the corner without running wide. Because motorbikes are very, very much vulnerable to this cutback. Because you break deep, you run wider than the guy who's second cuts inside you. But he's able to break deep, hold it on the inside. Fantastic. They've had a bit of a shake-up in Moto3. Susie was saying they had a big debate before the program yesterday because they are getting a bit scared about, Danny Mugello. They're coming, 10 wide down the straight at 200 miles an hour. These 16-year-olds. And they had that big fast bit in Barcelona, and they all backed off before the last corner to try and not be leading. They're trying to work out what to do, and they're trying to be very strict with any moves that puts another rider. Because they were Danny Mugello, they showed that they were weaving and just banging into the next guy, shoulder to shoulder, then bouncing off the other guy, these children.
Exactly, you've got nowhere to go. You've got to go to the next guy.
In fact, Darren Binder got given a drive-through because in qualifying, Binder came out of the pit lane, crossed diagonally straight across the road, first corner's a right-hander, dived up inside someone that was already on their lap, and then clattered into them out of the pit lane. I mean, even we know in England, one of the big things when you leave a pit lane, you stay on that side of the road until you know it's clear. But
fundamental.
They need to calm them down. They're a bit worried about the Moto3 children at the moment, but we love the racing they produce.
Well, it's a bit young people, children. I wouldn't say. You can't be a little bit PC on this channel, but but a bit careful about the young men and women and people that race.
Boys and girls.
Exactly. So moving on, we're going to GT3 in Zandvoort. Have you raced there before?
Yeah.
Have you raced there?
I've never raced on the new Zandvoort. I won in a Porsche 944 Turbo there when I last raced there on the old magnificent circuit. I had some great Formula Ford races there. A huge slipstreaming battle, magnificent the old circuit was. Now it's chopped in half and it's a bit of a horrible go-kart track, as we'll see when Formula One cars go to race there later this year.
Well, it was funny with the GT3s, they look too big for it, and they're well, I guess they're the same sort of size as the Formula One cars, but they look big for it, and it was really weird. You expect a quality track like that to be beautifully manicured and stuff, but all the grass was we need it there next week. It was all the grass was hanging off, and
it's sand dunes. It's Zandvoort. It's a great place to visit, a holiday resort. It's a fun weekend if you go to Zandvoort to watch or even drive and have a drink on the Sunday night. But that was the World GT Europe Series. I was confused. They got terrible titles now. It used to be the Blanc Pan. 2 great races. It's the shared drive of what GT3 was made for. And there were wins from what. It was Mercedes and Lamborghini. I forget who won there now. Yeah, Mercedes and Lamborghini had a win there. But down at Monza, we had the rebirth of DTM, who've now taken over the GT3 regulations. They've got their own balance of power, which they didn't seem to get right very well, because in the first race, the Mercedes were first to fit on the grid. But DTM it's a funny formula. I used to love it 20 years ago when the cars looked like the cars.
Why?
First of all, Well, the first one, I lost interest when it became more and more high tech and more and more scientific.
It's all about you, isn't it?
I know for a bit. Yeah, but other people give us your comments. But of course, it outpriced itself. It died a death because it became too expensive with all this, But also with DTM, they've got this obsession with you can change your tire. You have to change your tires once, and you can do it at the end of the first or second lap.
Yeah.
So you often have these races where half the grid peel into the pits on lap 2. And then, of course, you don't really know where people are relative. Unless you're a real enthusiast with a stopwatch, you have to wait because some people won't pit until the last 10 minutes. So you've no idea who's really leading the race until the last sort of 5 laps. So that annoys me. But yeah, I just never really got into DTM. Now they've got GT3. And, again, they got their own balance of power, which they seem to get a bit wrong, had to change around. But again, they got these early pit stops going on. And it's a funny thing. I don't know. I just can't get hooked into DTM. But, and I'm Alexander, Alpha, they used to send their Red Bull Peugeots over to Japan. This was the big thing, to get a super formula. So if you're next to be a Grand Prix driver for Red Bull, they raced in Japan in a single-seater formula. But that they can't do now because of quarantining. So they put Liam Lawson and Albon into these Ferrari 488s for the GT3 DTM series. And I don't think Albon likes GT3. He's dreaming of getting back into Formula, but he qualified like 14th or something in the first race. And he actually qualified 2 places behind someone who we really must give a good mention to. That's Esme Hawkey.
Yeah, brilliant.
Esme did Porsche racing in Britain. And then she's a W-Series girl, girl or woman. Of course, W-Series is fantastic at attracting more girls in go-kart race. That's the whole idea of W-Series. You're not going to make a Grand Prix driver over 2 seasons, but you're hopefully going to get more girls into racing. But eventually, they've got to come out and race against the boys or the men. And Esme's done that. She's a Lamborghini, and she qualified 12th ahead of Albon, but she's only 0.4 seconds off the fastest Lamborghini. So she's in with the men and competing, which that's what I love to see. They've got to come out in the end and prove their worth. She's a fantastic. She dropped back in the race. She was one of the cars where the team got her in on lap 3 to change her tires. And then she's at the back, and you no idea at the end. But she did drop back at the end. But she ended up having a battle with Sophia Flush, the German girl, who's the flying girl from Macau in her Formula 3 car. So there was a battle of the ladies towards the back of the grid, which they came out one win each. So big up for Esme. Get in there, sort your Lamborghini.
Yeah, big respect.
Out.
And of course,
W-Series.
W-Series
was beaten.
Nothing more interesting than satellite delay on a call. After you, my learned colleague Tiff. Albon.
I'll just say Albon's end was because Liam Lawson, the other Red Bull Alpha Tour, he won the first race. So Liam rather outshone Alexander Albon. It's not a good weekend for Albon fans, but I'm sure he'll come back. He finished 7th in the second race. So yeah, good stuff. But W-Series back in Austria this coming weekend, which we'll mention at the end of the show. So DTM still
also
not
in
for
Italy,
me.
though, there was that new formula with our very own Oli Webb. He was there in Italy.
Indeed.
The pure ETC.
I've looked at it on the internet. It wasn't on telly, but I tracked it down. Oh, excuse me. I mean, it's yet another amazing expensive car. There's only Alfa Romeo, Hyundai, and sorry, I'm coughing now. What was the third manufacturer? I've got it on my list. I've forgotten it already that quickly.
I know there were only 6 cars and 12 drivers with 3 lap battles. Was that right?
3 mates, Alfa Romeo, yeah. And they've got these starting gates like a horse race. They go out. They've got gimmicks, and they have races on a half the circuit. Vallelunga's got 2 tracks. There's short tracks and 3 cars and 3 laps, and they have races at full power, which is 680 horsepower. But I don't think they can do a whole race. They have qualifying laps. They got like 12 heats. And flipping! Now they're trying too hard, and it looked pretty dull. And basically, they're almost copying rallycross. Short start, 4 cars abreast into the first corner. Well, rallycross is brilliant because the cars are loose and wild, but these weren't loose or wild, and they sort of understeered round and went very quickly. And still, there was no visual excitement. We'll get Oli on next week maybe to defend. He's obviously, But there's 6 cars shared by 12 drivers, so 2 cars of each model. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Oli Webb next week to tell us about pure ETC and whatever other racing he's got coming up.
ATCR. Don't forget the R.
Is it an
it's
R?
probably important. So many ETs and TCs and TCs and touring cars. Yes, ETCR.
What else was happening?
More electric action. Yeah, electric action because we went from Vallelunga in Italy over, of course, to Mexico, where the Formula E boys were out, not at the Mexico City track, which they've used quite successfully, big stadium, big crowd from Mexico City. But that's apparently a temporary hospital area now for COVID. So they were down at this little track. What was it called? Puebla circuit. Puebla. A sort of club racing circuit. They had their world touring cars for there a couple of years, but then they chopped it up, made more corners as Formula E's tend to do. But I'm trying with Formula E. I look at every race, and I think, please, Formula E lovers, I'd love to have someone that really likes Formula E to come on and answer my criticisms of it. Because first of all, the rules are so mind-bending. The stewards seem to make penalties every race, every day. And of course, the winner of the first race in the Porsche, they were all disqualified. Some of the Nissans, because they didn't declare their tyres. Well, surely if a team hasn't declared their tyres, I don't know why, they're all the same flipping tyres. Surely the official should go to the team 10 minutes before the race. There should be declare before 10 minutes. If I was running the formula, you have up until 10 minutes before the race to declare your tyres. But if a team hasn't done that, you go to the team and say, look, declare your tyres, please. We'll fine you £1,000 for being late. But don't have a whole race and then disqualify the winner on the road because he hasn't.
But why not do it like they do in Indycar or in Formula One, where you have the tyre colour and you know what tyres they are, and or do you declare whether they're old tyres, new tyres? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they probably got a limited number of tyres per weekend. I don't know. There's probably 20 tyres.
You're right, though.
And so they've got to declare
common sense.
And then the time attack. This is the other thing that really does in my head. Not the attack mode. So they have to go off. And almost every track. You use the attack mode, and gaining the attack mode, you lose 2 places. Then you use the extra power to gain back 2 places. So normally they all shuffle back where they started from. And in fact, whenever there's a pace car, the drivers who don't want this flipping attack mode anyway, they'll usually go off and grab the attack mode, which they have to take twice a race, to get rid of it, during the pace car sections. And in Pueblo, even worse, they had a sort of extra loop to get it. And then they rejoined on the racing line as cars came out of the hairpin. And poor old Sam Bird was one of a couple that, came out and just got smeared into the wall by Alex Lynn, ironically, other British drivers. They've had some clashes before because there was a blind spot, for both of them coming back out on the track. So attack mode. And then again, a qualified system. Now, I'm not having to go at Formula E. I'm just trying to help Formula E because there is some element of good racing going on in there. But even the manufacturers now, the Jaguar guy was getting peed off because they have this qualifying system where the top 6 in the championship go first. And because there's 4 groups, the track evolves, and the last group who the bottom scores in the championship tend to get on the front of the grid. And so the Jaguar had such a good start to the season, to the top of the championship. But now the last 3 or 4 races, they go to Mexico. They've spent the most money out there on the best drivers they can get. They spent a fortune developing their cars. They've got huge PR going to Mexico to look at the Jaguars. But they qualify 19th and 20th because they're in the first grid. And they can't get through the field. Nobody can. So you gradually drop down in the championship, and then you get further up, then you qualify well. But to run a PR campaign globally for your manufacturer, you can't go to 3 or 4 countries and be in the back of the grid when you've been sort of winning in Monaco and other places. I don't know. But so anyway, I got to say, I don't know. I think just go to the straight racing for a while. Just have a straight race, the fan boost for one driver. Drop these gimmicks.
Formally, they're all trying to gimmicks. Focus on the racing.
Make qualifying all out together. Get normal qualifying. They don't want to look like normal racing because they think they need these gimmicks. When I don't know who it was. One of the drivers as well. I don't know this. I'm guessing. Was frustrated that they couldn't challenge. They were lying about 10th place, and they said keep going to the beeps. And I think I've half heard this in the conversation before. The driver's got a beep, so when they have to lift and coast, I think they have a beep in their helmet when they have to lift. So they're being driven by a computer program to make the energy last. And I'd like to know about this really, Formula E people. I should look it up myself and try and find out. But it would appear from what the team manager told the driver that you can't go faster, stick to the plan, listen to the beeps. So I do think they drive on a computer program beep in your ear.
So if you know that, please comment below. Comment on YouTube. Head over, if you're listening to this on a podcast, head over to YouTube and leave some comments there. So Tiff, I think, have we left the best to last? Because IndyCar.
Of course we have.
IndyCar, Road America.
I know it's not high tech. I know they've all got the same cars, but boy, the drivers. The number of times you're on board, coming out of a corner, you see the opposite lot, you hear the revs go up as the wheels spin, the driver. Some of the saves we saw from all of the drivers, Grosjean's in there, batting away. We had Kevin Magnussen joined him, his ex-Haas teammate, 'cause he was standing in for the injured driver from last weekend, Rosenqvist. And he only qualified at the back, but he actually led for a while because he was running around the back when, of course, the strategy and there was a yellow flag, full course caution, all of it. It was good time to come in for proper drivers, but this left K-Mag out. So he led for about 5 or 6 laps and battled to be overtaken by the real leaders. But then he had an engine failure or a gearbox failure. But there was just so much over. Road America, I've never raced on it. It's brilliant. I mean, it's just a thin strip of tarmac with green grass and then concrete walls on a lot of places. And just this amount of over every restart after a caution series, they were banging wheels, going side by side around corners. And I'm sorry, it's not high tech. It's still incredibly well engineered.
Why are you sorry about
Formula
that?
One,
You shouldn't
Formula
be sorry
One.
about
well,
that.
I know.
I'm
it's
with
for
you.
racing drivers. Racing for racing drivers.
I don't want to keep harping on about this Caterham stuff, but I think it's some of the most interesting, entertaining racing you could possibly get, and it's as low.
So I decided to tell IndyCar. Maybe IndyCar need a new logo, do they? IndyCar, the racing for grown-up Caterham racers or something.
I think that worked. And
I have to feel Joseph Newgarden dominated the race as he did in Detroit. In Detroit, he was done by pace car with his toe, who was on the wrong tyres. This time he had a mechanical fault and dropped back. But Alex Palou, this sensational Spanish kid, I watched him in a qualifying lap. I don't know if you can still see it on the internet, but he goes to the carousel, this amazing, 20-second corner. And you could hear, he's got a bit of understeer, and you could hear the throttle coming in, and then the opposite lot goes on because he's got the rear out. Then he goes a bit of understeer, you can hear him playing with the throttle, driving the car through the corner on the throttle with the opposite lot, and the adjustments, just... You don't even see a Grand Prix driver ever do that. Yeah. And the slides they have, they can get a big opposite lock on, and these Formula One cars with their weird aero, they seem to get sideways and they spit off in a tank slapper, don't they? But anyway, Jack Harvey, British driver, Chilton finished 10th. Yeah, Max Chilton, but our leading British driver at the Jack Harvey qualifier, he was running second early on. He faded bad. They left him out when everyone else pitted. He tried to go long on a set of tyres, and that didn't work. But yeah, it was just the best racing. I watched the whole thing. I didn't fast forward through that race at all because, it was just on it.
And what about moving up to the other American where your man did it
NASCAR.
again? NASCAR.
Did you mention? Yes, wonder who won the NASCAR race.
Number 5.
Oh, the Needles are feeling a bit embarrassed now because we're worried that NASCAR is going to get nobody watching it anymore now because this kid is just Kyle Larson. I mean, just nobody can touch him at the moment. And he's a stunningly talented driver and, great stuff. But there was still some great racing going on, the Nashville race. And he won his guitar at the end, Larson. Instead of a trophy, you get a guitar in Nashville. But there's still plenty of good races. Still entertaining, but Kyle just dominated.
Good. And so it's time, Tiff. We need a drum roll. It's time to announce the winner of the Caterham competition, the caption competition where I was forced off the track, onto the grass.
Oh, yeah. He's a racer. You're a racing driver, yeah.
The winner wins a Caterham for the weekend. So Caterham are giving a Caterham for the weekend. Lunch, then you're
out of sync. Calm down your vote. You've caught up. Just do that once again. Is your lip sync going?
I need to relax. I'm excited about the competition winner.
That's good. You're back in sync.
The winner of the Caterham competition wins a Caterham for the weekend, courtesy of Caterham Cars. And they drive to Bedford. So they pick that up on the Friday, drive to Bedford on the Monday, come and meet me for lunch. Oh, that's so exciting. And then...
Wow, that is the cream of the prize.
If you dare, you can actually come out for some laps with me driving the Lovecars car. So if you dare, after my recent crash. But it's a brilliant competition. And your comments have been amazing. I wish I was humorous like lots of our followers. There's lots of comments about the grass cutting. cutting corners. Lots about Jeremy Clarkson's farm, which was very tasty. I like that link as well. There's a lovely comment from a lady called Stella who said if she won, she would donate it to a local children's hospice. But the winning quote, as judged by Tiff and myself, was this was the winning quote. It was this moment Paul realized promoting on the road on the car was probably not the best idea, because I was a long way from the road, and that was from Ben Straffen. So Ben Straffen, congratulations from us, and I hope you enjoy your Caterham experience on the weekend. And I look forward to meeting you as well. So it should be a bit of fun.
Wonderful prize that is. That little car will put a smile on his face all weekend, just driving around his local roads, apart from going and being scared by you at Lotus. But yeah.
Great. So next week, it's Grand Prix again. Austria, Styrian Grand Prix. What else is going on next week?
Part one of Austria, because they're doing the double header in Austria. They're calling the first one the Styrian Grand Prix. And that's when the WSeries is one of the support events. I don't know which days they're racing on. I haven't seen the timetable yet.
Come on, Vicky.
The World Rally Championship. Yeah, come on, Vicky. I love cars, Vicky. And of course, all the other ladies, but come on, Vicky. World Rally Champ. The Safari Rally is back after 19 years of being away.
That's in Kenya, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be the same, marathon rally it used to be. It's going to be a circuit lapping, modern style rally, but it's still good. Get those cars out in the dust and sand of Kenya. The MotoGP boys, they're Aston. That's a fantastic bike track. Always exciting last corner outbreaking in Holland. And then the BTCC boys are back at Brands Indy Circuit. So we've got to see some non-stop door bashing. Get down, get your car parked up on South Bank, get your picnic out with the kids. It's a wonderful place, that Indycar's track, to watch racing. Up at Paddock Hill Bend or exit of Clearway. So many great places to walk around the whole track during the day, because you've got the Formula 4s out, the Porsches, the Caterhams, not the Caterhams, the Ginettas.
Yeah, Ginettas.
The little juniors all banging doors. So fantastic weekend of racing at Brands Hatch if you fancy heading down there. Otherwise, watch it all on the telly. Great TV coverage. So good. So I hope some of you got to the end of this podcast, and will now let us know. We do this round the world trip. Do you want us to just debate one subject for a whole day and just give results, or do you like what we're doing?
Yeah, comments below. And Ben Straffen, if you I'm not sure how you're going to get in touch with you, probably drop us an email. Our contact details will be on YouTube somewhere, so drop us an email. And thanks to all of you for the humour over the last few weeks of the various comments on the Caterham competition. See you all next week.
See you. Bye.
Cheers.